Welcome to Let's Talk About It Tuesdays, where I share conversations that I have with successful women, all answering the same questions. And then we simply chat it up a bit. You get to be a fly on the wall in these conversations. Today, my conversation is with Bethany Brass. As an attorney who has practiced family law for almost 10 years, Bethany finds quality of life to be a necessity as she navigates through seasons of her career that often come with long hours and intense schedules. How does she find balance when there are times when balance doesn't exist? Here's what she has to say about it. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Doing very well.
Thank you for joining me on our quality of life. Let's talk about it Tuesdays. And I am very interested to kind of pick your brain about the topic that we've been talking with everyone about, which is quality of life, and find out what does that mean to you?
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you. And I love talking about quality of life, as you know. So you're asking me what quality of life means to me.
Yeah, what is it to you?
I think big picture, quality of life to me means it equates to longevity and having a full and joyous life.
Hmm.
But the nuts and bolts of quality of life are time to thrive and enjoy my career, but also be able to walk my own dog in the afternoons when I work from home. It is, having enough bandwidth and time to spend time with my nearest and dearest outside of work hours. It is having weekends and most evenings to myself to, enjoy my favorite activities or make nice meals, shared with others or, solo nights in. It's not work-life balance because the career I've chosen doesn't offer me, like a strict work-life balance, but it's room for the ebbs and flows of my life, my personal life, and also my professional life. And just trying to keep those two things integrated as much as possible at all times.
Yeah. You mentioned work-life balance. What is that to you?
To me, at least as a litigator, I cannot say that work-life balance is something I can strive for in the typical sense, just because my life or my work life at least ebbs and flows based on how many trials I'm set for when those trials are happening. So I typically have a couple seasons a year where my life looks very different than it would normally. I don't have any balance. I don't cook a lot of my own meals. I'm not exercising as much because I'm working very long hours. But for me, I kind of go to this like personal, professional life integration model of are they integrated together versus calling it work-life balance. And so it's, am I making most of my own meals or at least enjoying going out and planning that versus last minute ordering takeout or delivery out of necessity? Do I have the bandwidth to enjoy spending time with my nearest and dearest, my family and my friends? Do I have time for activities and sports? And not only just time, but bandwidth to enjoy
Yeah.
spending the time
Yeah.
versus everything feeling like a chore because I'm trying to fit too many things in. I hope that answered the question.
It did, it did. And I think I'm actually glad that I asked that question because you brought up something that I think is really important to talk about and address or make sure we're aware of it is that sometimes balance isn't realistic. We go through seasons where we have big projects and things that are in our lap, or if we have kids, the kids get sick, or if we're trying to promote this new thing in our career. It's just sometimes that's not a real reality to be like, hey, I'm going to stop at 6 and then I'm going to make sure that I have time to go to the gym and do all of the things that are in some kind of sequential and consistent manner. And so that is really a really good point and something good to clarify, that quality of life doesn't always mean there's balance, but we can find ways to find quality of life.
Yes, yes. And especially for me as a litigator, I enjoy being a litigator, which means I enjoy going to court. And so that just inherently means I'm going to have seasons where you know, I work 14-hour days, 15-hour days. It's just a reality.
Yeah.
Before a multi-day trial, I don't have a lot of free time. And my exercise and eating routines, my social life, they all look very different, but it's serving a bigger purpose. And I really enjoy that part of my life. But yes, it's an integration because I always have to stay aware that it's only for that chapter. And so as soon as that season ends, right, I get done with my back to back trials. I have to be very mindful to shift gears and get out of that space to then go back to, okay, let's revert back. How did I enjoy, eating meals and sharing my time and exercising before trial season? And it's not a perfect science, but I think for me, you know, I have to be careful to not get too stuck in routines. And so I try to keep a mantra of, enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And I just constantly ask myself, like, is this routine or is this whatever system I'm doing at the time with my activities or workload is like, is it working? And am I able to enjoy it?
Hmm. Now, you mentioned meals and enjoying your meals and exercising and things like that. And I would love to pick your brain specifically about the times, just go a little bit more deeper, specifically about the times when you are on these really long and, deadline driven seasons. How do
Mm-hmm.
you incorporate? Would you mind just sharing the insider secret about how do you personally incorporate quality of life during those times?
I'm happy to share, though I wouldn't say it's perfect.
Nope, this is
And
not
how
supposed to be
I,
perfect.
yeah, and what
Not,
works
not
for me, yeah, what works for me may not work for others,
No,
right? It
it's
can,
nope, it's just you.
yeah, yeah, it might sound a little bit punishing. I'll be honest, I eat a lot of eggs and spinach during that time. I eat a lot of, I eat a lot of like fruit smoothies with whey protein powder. It's not a perfect science, again, it's the joy in those times is relative to scale, right?
Mhm,
And so, you know, m meals look a little bit different. They're not as well planned. And or I will eat the same meal, 5 days in a row because I meal prepped on the weekend.
mhm,
And so it takes some forethought. I have to have a plan in place. Otherwise, I just eat eggs and spinach and protein powder. And that's not great. I'll tell you, there's no quality of life
mhm,
there when I try to sustain that. And so, I also have to be, I would say, gentle with myself. And I kind of shift gears into what types of meals I want to plan. I do a lot of like one pot, one pan meals, and to make sure I'm getting all the food groups right. And because I also have to be gentle with myself of if I don't have a lot of time, let's be realistic. What can I achieve and what can I accomplish that doesn't feel too punishing?
mhm.
Because I do tend to make a lot of things feel like a chore. And so they end up on my checklist. And so, um, yeah. And then with exercise, I try to at least move my body. So I try to kind of downshift my expectations. Am I going to lift multiple? I do a lot of cross training. So I do weightlifting, yoga, and then just like outdoor stuff. But I try to be gentler with myself. Like a walk will be enough, or even just mobility stretches. If I can get in a short circuit workout, great. But I'll be honest, after a 15-hour you know, litigation day, it might just consist of blaring music in my headset and jumping and like shaking out the energy out of my body. And so it doesn't look great, but it will help me release and also it moves the blood through my body. So,
Mhm.
it does what it needs to do. So yeah, it all just looks different. And the quality is really comes back to how is it serving me and is it serving me here and now?
Mm.
It doesn't need to serve me permanently, right? And so what counts as a workout in those really busy seasons is really different than what does it look like when I have more bandwidth and I am working regular work days.
Yeah. And have you found that you or have you set up any kind of support systems behind the scenes so that on those times and in those days when you're doing these kind of, marathons, that you have a little bit of a lifeline?
Absolutely. I think we may have, yeah, we could have maybe started there. Quality of life is all about the support system and the network. I can't do everything by myself. I'm not a lone wolf. If I try to do it all by myself, I can't do all of the things. I can't have quality of life without my support system. So whether that be a dog walker, at times it's been meal prep services, um, you know, grocery delivery, or even just pickups can make a big difference. I will be honest, outsourcing to my nearest and dearest, whoever is geographically proximate, who can pick up my groceries for me. I have, admittedly had my younger sister, my much younger sister, come stay with me for a week. My specific request was that she make me pancakes. But that was during a really busy season, and it was at the tail end of a 3 month very busy season. And so by that point of that season, I was, at that point, I'm barely eating spinach and eggs because I keep running out. And I've been on that, high octane, busy season life for, at that point, it's like at the end of 3 months and it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I got to call in the reinforcements. And, you know, she helps with like cleaning up my house. She'll help with my dog. And it's all about being able to ask for support. And, also admitting that in those times, I don't have a lot of capacity to think ahead, at least not as much as I normally would. And so, sometimes it's a little bit of an SOS of like,
Yeah.
today's going to break me, please help. Please come. How quickly can you get here?
Yes. Yes.
But that enables me to, stay really focused on my work and serving my clients and working towards, whatever we're working for, settling or preparing for trial. So,
Yes.
while my home life and my personal life is, calling in all of the reinforcements, it's enabling me to stay full capacity, in another gear.
Hmm. I think a lot of us underestimate the importance of having that backup. I mean, I hear you saying, yes, the dog walker and the meal prepper and all that, but if I were to guess that SOS call and actually having the person that's there and ready and available to respond to it, even before you get to SOS or when you get to SOS, is crucial to these times.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, I need to give credit to a few other people. I have some people that are longer distance who can't come over and help make me pancakes, if that's my specific request. Um, but we check in via, video chats or even just audio or video messages. And, they will see, they check in and they kind of see what's going on. And, they hold me accountable in a supportive way, not in a critical way, but in a way of, when is this season ending? Because they sort of know the system, right? But if they hear I'm taking in more cases while I'm really busy, their alarm bells go off of like, are you staying intentional? What are you doing?
Yeah.
But then even, in those really busy seasons, as I'm moving through those 3 months, they kind of check in with me of, how close are you? How are you feeling? Do you feel like you're taking care of yourself? And they'll encourage me to, if I'm telling them like, yeah, I just, I have no choice but to work this weekend, they'll encourage me like, well, can you fit in any fun? Do you have any play planned this week? you know um did you remember to get fruit in your grocery haul? And it's, I don't mean to make it sound like I lose all human capacity, but that's truly how busy it gets sometimes,
Yeah.
right? Where you're just solving for day to day, you're solving for the next thing, and or you're hyper focused on this one category of life. So
Yeah.
the others just kind of fall to the wayside. So yeah, my long distance support it's amazing and it's crucial because they really hold space for it. And then also when they start to see that I'm gonna start spiraling, like starting to not look well, they'll encourage me to, do something restful. Is there anything you can delegate?
Mhm.
And they'll kind of ask, like, have I reached out to anybody who's local to me? Like, what about your friend? Or, is your sister available? Like, have you reached out to anyone? I mean, they love me so well because they hold me accountable to even like, are you asking for support? Have you thought about
Yeah.
whether you need support? And so it's fantastic. I don't need full brain capacity for my human personal life because my support system they're on it. They're on
Oh,
it.
I love it. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that and just being so transparent and vulnerable. I appreciate that. I know that
Yeah.
I know that you're not the only one, but sometimes we feel like we're the only one. And when you were saying the sentence, of somebody coming over and making you pancakes, I felt, I know that's so much more than just coming over and making pancakes. Just the simple act of being available and doing the thing. It's more than that. And so thank you for sharing all that.
Of course. Yeah. I think it's important to bring, some humanity to the quality of life talk, especially in the
Um,
professional context, because I think if we stay too focused on what it means as a professional, to try to hone your career to have quality of life, I think that we lose sight of like what it really takes to do that and yeah, like there's a human side. And when I'm super busy and tired and I've been surviving on my eggs and spinach, to everyone it's different. Maybe it's takeout
right.
for most people, but mine's eggs and spinach. But yeah, I want pancakes. And I can't spend the time to make the pancakes. And so
Right.
it's fantastic to have someone come and help. And so, but I think that also speaks to like where we get with quality of life, right? Of people hearing this might say like, how does this person have any quality of life? They can't even make their own pancakes. They have to send SOS calls. But again, it's for the bigger picture, right? Because in those seasons, it's just those seasons
Right.
that I'm working really long hours and I have to be available. I have to be online much more than I normally do. And so, yeah, I don't have as much time to clean and cook and meal prep and live.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
I'm in go mode at work.
Yes.
But then cases settle, trial ends, and vacations are planned in advance so that we don't forget about them. And then I get to go play, and it looks different.
And that is very important to bring up as well, because if this was 365, it's not a sustainable pace. It's not
Oh,
something.
absolutely not.
And
No.
I know that if that was indeed you or anybody else 365, your body's starting to fail. You're feeling it in ways, or you've shut down your body so you're not feeling it, or we don't feel it. And that is also a reality for us if we don't take the time and the vacations and have the intention and cultivate the relationships so that when we need them, they're there. Because when I mean honestly, when we're in the middle of the 3 month stint, nobody's meeting any new people. Nobody's going out and cultivating relationships. Those things need to be there.
Correct. Correct. Yes. Am I
Yeah.
asking how you are? I hope I remembered to ask.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm alive, but not really.
Yes.
Yeah, well, not in
Yes.
life. Yeah. So wonderful. Well, so my other question that I've been asking everybody is how have you struggled to incorporate quality of life? But I think you gave us a really robust idea of the challenges of incorporating quality of life throughout, some of the ebbs and flows of work and life process.
Yeah, I think to be specific, it has taken being boundaried and staying really focused on what my purpose is and how I intend to live. Because I intend to live with quality of life, I don't want my profession to be my whole identity. I don't want to give up my personal life to my job at all times. Yes, I like litigating, but I don't want that to be the only thing I enjoy. So it has required that at times I say no much more than I think other attorneys say no, whether that be honestly to the partners in my own firm or to clients, having to turn away clients. Um, and it's a constant task. I can never get complacent. And that goes back to, even my support system will sort of hear some things and say, "Oh, is that aligning with your goals for the year on all fronts?" If they hear me saying yes to too many clients, they sort of perk up and get questions, but it also takes for me as a litigator, I have to pre-plan. So I have to get my vacations on the books. Otherwise, time will fly by and I might not be able to do it. I have to be very intentional. But, I've also seen what it's like for people in my profession who don't do that, and it leads to burnout. And, they don't get to enjoy as much of the job or their life, because all they're doing is just trying to keep up. And, it's hard to do. So I think for me, what works for me very well is planning ahead and also just staying very mindful as to not be so singular focused on my professional intent and purpose, but
Mhm.
holistically, again, personal and professional lives integrated as one,
And
you
this
know.
this applies to what you're saying. I hear you say that you live and you work with purpose. And whether or not somebody is working because they feel called to it and this is one of their purposes in life, or working just to do the thing, right? Because they need to pay the
Mhm.
bills, this all still applies. And I think sometimes we think that when we're living on purpose, everything just falls into place. And, I'm working in my purpose, I'm achieving my purpose, whatever it is. And, that's not always the case. This still applies. And that's what I keep saying. This still applies. This still applies.
Yes, yes,
All the
yes,
things. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Even if it looks different or sounds different, yeah, it still applies. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you like to share with us a little bit about what you do? And so I'm behind the scenes and I know what you do, but I think it
Mhm.
would be great if you would share with us a little bit about that. And because we've already pre-discussed this, are there any share with us what you would like to about how you encourage the people that you work with in their, challenging times to be sure they're mindful of their quality of life.
Sure. So I'm Bethany Brass. I'm a certified family law specialist. I am a family law attorney, and I'm in my ninth year. I am with Launich Patton Ehrlich Policastri, LPEP for short. I practice in the San Francisco Bay Area, and the firm itself is based out of San Jose, but I have opened a satellite office in San Francisco. So I am currently, developing business in San Francisco. So if there's anybody in San Francisco County who needs an attorney to help them with a prenup or a post-marital agreement or a divorce, let me know. You can reach out. Um, but I do all aspects of divorce because I'm in the Bay Area. We do deal with a lot of complex compensation plans. So, whether that be equity compensation or even venture capitalists and investment type equity comp, we do it all. I do have a lot of experience with high conflict divorces and more complex financial divisions of estates. So if that's, what people need, I'm a good fit. With my clients, I do tend to take a little bit more of a holistic approach with my clients. I think the biggest thing that I see, the biggest struggle from a lot of my clients is that they don't fully appreciate that family court is a court, right? And so the court is not the venue to get all of the support. It's kind of where things happen and the divorce aspects get finalized. But there's a lot of emotional processing that also generally tends to happen kind of at the same time. Like people are processing, yes, the nuts and bolts of the divorce, and that's, a lot. But then there's also the personal piece.
Mm,
And I find that my clients underestimate just like what a poor resource I am as their attorney to help them with their personal processing. I always encourage my clients, make sure you have a support system. And, individual therapy is great. Personal development workshops are great because there's a lot of, and at least from my perspective, divorce involves not only this like unraveling of a relationship, a really important relationship, but it also generally comes with like some unraveling of, the party's identity. There's a lot put into marriage and what it means to be a spouse. And so as that kind of unravels, yes, it's stressful to deal with, child and spousal support and custody problems. Yes, a whole swath of things that are very difficult. And yes, you do need good support, legally. You need good legal support. And good legal support should be an attorney who explains things to you, will repeat themselves if you need it explained again. Um, if it's a really good attorney, they will identify when the way that they're speaking or explaining things isn't working for you. They'll try to adjust how they're communicating so that you really get it. But if your attorney's not that attuned, you clients always, I highly recommend if your attorney doesn't explain things in a way that makes sense to you, you need to tell them and or you need to get a new attorney. Your attorney is there to explain things, the process, the outcomes, all of it. Make sure you understand what they are saying. Um, but at the same time, like, yeah, I can't help you do the personal stuff, right? You don't want me to. I don't have a psychology degree. I have a Juris Doctorate. I can help you with the legal stuff, and I can
yeah.
I can put together a mean Excel worksheet to divide your assets, but you don't want me doing the personal growth work. And I, always suggest getting resources in place. So individual therapy, maybe even some coaching, depending on, again, I see a lot of high conflict cases.
Mm,
And for those cases, especially when children are involved, a parent coach is fantastic to help you, because again, it's a redefining. Your relationship is unraveling. But if you have children, you still have to deal with each other, you and your ex-spouse. And you have to learn how to do that in a constructive and healthy way. And sometimes the ex-spouse isn't, as growth oriented as you are. So you might be the only one.
yeah.
But so, beyond individual therapy, a lot of my clients, I recommend a parenting coach. Sometimes, a parent counselor can help. It just depends on the client situation. Certainly, if there's an abuse dynamic, any type of co-parent counseling is probably not going to be super effective, might even be harmful. But at least for my individual clients, always, yes, resource up, outsource. And also, like, how can you make your life easier, right? If there's kids involved, why do we need to have three activities if it's causing a lot of conflict between the parents and or your child is adjusting to the separation? Life will look different for a little bit, and that's okay. The other thing, maybe not super early on, but another thing I try to encourage my clients to do is, think forward. Yes, this part of your life is ending. And yes, you're still sort of going through it and we're finalizing the divorce. But like start looking forward to what does it mean? What does it mean when you get done with this discovery? What does it mean when you get done with, judgment of dissolution? What does your life look like? What do you want it to look like? You get to like recraft, at least a part of what your life looks like. What do
Yeah.
you want it to look like? And it can be hard to do that when your attorney's calling you to, you know,
Yeah.
tell you about XYZ that's coming up in court or, whatever it is. But yeah, I just try to encourage my clients like get resourced, get support, get the right kind of support, and allow yourself a little bit of space, to kind of think forward and like take a pause and think about the opportunity that is like, okay, you get to rebuild.
Beautiful.
Yeah, might be a little hippy dippy for some, but again, I take a holistic approach and I try to kind of translate my skills. So my quality of life focus over here kind of translates for my clients. So some clients are like, the hell? I just want the divorce. Get me out of here. And I'm like, okay, we go to therapy.
Right.
Best of luck.
But for the
Yeah.
clients that you're open to that, I'm sure that's very helpful. And, it's like you said, it's a very hard and grueling process. And to have, just to know there's those little things. Thank you for those tips and tricks, for lack of a better way of saying it, of make
Mhm.
sure your attorney is explaining things to you and you understand it. Because a lot of times, I mean, it's such an overwhelming process that, we don't know how to think or what to think.
Yes.
So,
Well, in court can be overwhelming. And I think a lot of clients, we exit the courtroom and I can see on their face that they don't fully appreciate what just happened, even when we won, right? And so I'm like, we
yeah.
won, we did well. And they're like, oh, okay, we did. I'm like, yep, we got
Oh,
what we wanted, And
no.
so even when
Yeah.
you're winning, sometimes it's too much. It's
Yeah.
overwhelming, right? And especially with divorce, it's a very personal. Every aspect is very personal, and so it's a lot. So yeah, make sure you got the team that feels supportive. And look, I have a lot of hard conversations with my clients. If any of them talk to you, they would say it's not a great day when they talk to me, but it's again, it's from a supportive framework.
Right.
And I do have bad news often. You have to share your children, you have to share your assets, you have to share your debts. It's all bad news, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, it's coming from a supportive place. So
Mm, great. Well, once again, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I did tell you before this, I will probably thank you about 15 times throughout the whole recording, and I think I'm at 14, so great.
amazing. Thank you. I'm happy to talk about quality of life. It's great. I like to geek out on it.
Yeah.
Fun.
I'm a little biased. I'm a big geeker outer of all quality of life things. So
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Oh, there's my 15th. Thank you. Thank you. 17, 18.
You're welcome. And I also have to thank you because a lot of this is from our work together. And it's been incredible to, again, add another resource to my toolbox. And coaching has been one of those things that it's immeasurable how beneficial it's been. It's been incredible. So thank you. A
You're
big
welcome.
thank you.
I'm
Yeah.
happy that you have gotten lots of value out of it.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say thank you one last time.
Okay.
Have
Thank
a
you.
great one.
Good night.
Here's a recap of the women I've spoken with in season 1. Jamie Franklin Bernal, talented designer, award-winning business owner, and dedicated mom.
There are moments, right, where I'm feeling like, yes, like this is all really, really working. But
Emily Rosales, branding coach who helps business owners fully connect with their story.
Where my energies are, a lot higher. So like creative mode is on, like the switch is on. And then there's moments where I'm discouraged or disappointed and trying to figure things out.
Nina Afshar, immigrant, entrepreneur, real estate powerhouse, and mama.
I'm not huge into balance. I'm not like, oh, I have to have a balance between how much I sleep and how much I eat and how much I spend time with this and that. For me, the quality of life.
Jackie and Jess. They're dedicated to helping others build and protect generational wealth.
I was like, what do? I need to work. I need to work. I need to work. And I hated that feeling of I need to work.
Yeah.
But I also felt like not fulfilled by not working.
so, it's just a lot. I think the root of the quality is feeling fulfilled.
Chris DeLeo, a woman who has dedicated her life to caring about women and children.
That peace that we're trying to live through, that peace that passes all understanding, that is a quality of life that we take, and there's from time to time things that interrupt that peace.
Bethany Brass, family law attorney who also practices quality of life.
Quality of life is all about the support system and the network. I can't do everything by myself. I'm not a lone wolf. If I try to do it all by myself, I can't do all of the things.
That's a wrap for season 1 of Let's Talk About It Tuesdays. Thanks for joining me this season. I very much enjoyed these conversations. I hope you did too. Be sure to like and share any episodes that spoke to you, and definitely be sure to subscribe because season 2 is already in the works, and you will definitely not want to miss an episode. See you soon for more Let's Talk About It Tuesdays.